Well, welcome everyone. We're holding this public meeting electronically, and we're here in Arlington, Texas at the North Central Texas Council of Governments. The team has been working really hard since the last time we met with you. This is an exciting project to build high-speed trains from east-west between downtown Dallas, coterminus with high-speed rail, hopefully to Houston, all the way over to Fort Worth, with the hope of extending high-speed rail service from Fort Worth to the south at some point in the future. So we have a very dedicated team that has worked hard since last time. Great comments at the last public meeting. We took those to heart. We've met with a whole host of technology experts from all over the world since the last time we met. So we are ready to go. And again, thank you, representative, homeowners groups, residents, business owners, transportation interests, logistics fans. Thank you very much for participating in our meeting today. Rebecca, I guess I'll send it back over to you.
Thank you, Michael. This is Rebecca Hernandez, and I will pass it over to Kevin Felt today to go over the first few slides.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Kevin Felt, and I am a program manager here at the Council of Governments. And I wanted to let you know that during this presentation, we will cover many topics related to the study. These topics include a project overview, the alternative screening process, and initial results from level 1 and level 2 screening efforts, information pertaining to the next evaluation effort, and the project conceptual design steps, information on public and agency engagement efforts, as well as to provide comments about the project. There are three primary purposes for the meeting today. The project team will provide the results from the first two levels of screening analysis for both technologies and alignments, identify project team recommendations to be used in the level 3 screening process, and receive public comment and input regarding the project team recommendations. The next section will discuss the project overview focused on the project study area and schedule. The primary project objective is to evaluate high-speed transportation technology options between downtown Dallas and downtown Fort Worth. This includes analyzing both alignment and transportation mode options between the two cities. The objective includes finding ways to connect the Dallas-Fort Worth region to other proposed high-performance passenger systems in Texas. Also, the project will investigate ways to enhance connections to the regional transportation systems, including automobile, bus, rail, bicycle, and pedestrian networks. An additional objective is to obtain federal environmental approval to design and implement the project. The stated objectives will be analyzed in the study area shown on this map. This area is generally bounded by State Highway 121 and State Highway 183 to the north, Interstate Highway 35E to the east, downtown Fort Worth to the west, and United States Highway 287 and State Highway 303 to the south. One of the initial tasks for this type of study is to develop a description of the project purpose which addresses the project objectives. The purpose is to connect downtown Dallas and downtown Fort Worth with high-speed intercity passenger rail service or an advanced high-speed ground transportation technology to provide an alternative to travel by automobile, to advance state high-performance rail transportation network, to support economic development opportunities in the Dallas-Fort Worth region, and to enhance connectivity. For more information regarding the preliminary, please go to our project website. Please go to nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS. From there, select the Project Information tab, then the Purpose and Need document link. Dallas to Fort Worth High-Speed Transportation Connection Study is divided into two phases. First phase will analyze all reasonable alternatives regarding alignment and travel technology. A wide range of alternatives will be pared down to a small number of recommended travel technologies and a small number of alignment options technologies along with a multiple-level screening. Staff anticipates the phase to take approximately 12 months and conclude in spring 2021. During the first phase, there will be 3 opportunities for the region to participate in the study through public meeting events. We previously held meetings in September 2020. We are now having public meetings in January 2021, and our next is tentatively scheduled for April 2021. The second phase will be engineering and environmental analysis as prescribed by the National Environmental Policy Act. The second phase will include conceptual and preliminary engineering tasks. The Phase 2 schedule indicates beginning the work efforts in early summer 2021 and concluding in late spring of 2023. This 24-month schedule includes 2 primary public engagement events in early fall 2021 and late summer 2022. As always, questions and comments are welcome throughout the entire project study. Now I'm going to turn this over to Ian Bryant, who will discuss the screening process and level 1 and level 2 results.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ian Bryant, and I am the consultant project manager for our study. On this section, we'll focus on the level 1 and level 2 screening analysis and the results. The project team is using a 3-level screening process to pare down the initial large number of possible options to a select few by the end of the first study phase. The process is depicted on this graphic. The process begins with identifying all reasonable alternatives. The first level of evaluation for the alternatives is to determine if the alternative meets the project purpose and the project need. The alternatives that meet the project purpose and need then move to the second level of evaluation. The second level of evaluation focuses on identifying any flaws which may preclude the alternative from being built. This is where the project team is currently. This is also where we need your help. As we discuss the preliminary level 2 screening results, please take the time to review the results and provide your thoughts and comments. The information gathered will be very helpful as the project team makes recommendations for alternatives to advance to the third level of screening analysis. The goal is to complete the third level of evaluation with a limited number of technologies and alignments or corridors to be evaluated in the project's second phase. Using previous transportation studies that examined corridors between Dallas and Fort Worth, the project team identified many possible alignments and corridors to analyze. In general, the project team identified alignments and corridors along existing transportation as much as possible in order to minimize the need to acquire additional property. Also, using existing transportation corridors would minimize impacts to homes and businesses. Each alignment and corridor option will connect the central station in downtown Fort Worth to the proposed high-speed rail station in downtown Dallas. In all 3 distinct alignments and corridors were identified for our distinct alignments. The initial 43 distinct alignments and corridors were grouped into 5 families of options. These 5 families are generally identified as the Trinity Railway Express, or TRE, alignments that are shown here in the purple, the Trinity River alignments, shown in gold, the IH-30 alignments in dark blue, the State Highway 180 alignments, which are also very near the existing Union Pacific Railroad alignment, it's shown in red, and the State Highway 303 alignments, shown in light blue. These are the alignments and corridors the project team to analyze during the first level of screening. There are also several high-speed transportation technologies or modes of travel that are examined for their use to meet the region's travel needs. The initial modes of travel that we analyzed include conventional passenger rail trains, higher speed trains, which are faster than conventional trains but slower than high-speed trains, high-speed rail, which are passenger trains proposed for the Dallas to Houston system, magnetic levitation, or maglev for short, train technology, and Hyperloop technology, which incorporates a passenger or cargo pod moving in a near vacuum tube. We also analyzed other emerging high-speed transportation technologies. Looking more closely at the design characteristics for each technology, it's important to understand how the footprint and profile could affect the surrounding environment, including the amount of right-of-way width needed. Typical sections of each technology give a view of the technology and its associated infrastructure required. A typical section is what could be expected to be generally built throughout the corridor. Conventional and higher speed rail typical sections are generally constructed on the ground as shown in the pictures on the previous slide. The technologies with the highest speeds require the vehicles to operate on bridge structures throughout a corridor to separate them from and rail lines. The typical sections for high-speed and magnetic levitation sections for high-speed and the Hyperloop technologies are shown here. The three distinct levels of evaluation are shown in this graphic. The first level focused on the project and purpose, while the second and third levels provided increasingly more detailed evaluation criteria. The level 1 evaluation was aimed at determining if the alternative would meet the project purpose and need and was conducted using 2 screening evaluations. The primary evaluation determined if the alternative would serve both downtown Fort Worth and downtown Dallas with a travel time faster than existing modes. The secondary evaluation in level 1 determined if the alternative would be safe, reliable, and convenient, if it linked to other high-speed transportation systems throughout Texas, and connected to existing regional passenger system, as well as improved access to major activity centers with the study area. The results of the first level of screening are shown here. Using the primary criteria, all alignments serve both downtown areas. The next part of this primary criteria screens out alignments and mode combinations that have a longer travel time between the Dallas and Fort Worth stations than the 20-minute threshold. Using this travel time criteria, none of the 43 alignments pass the test for conventional rail. Higher speed technology has 8 alignments that pass the travel time test, while high-speed rail passes on 39 alignments, and maglev and Hyperloop technologies pass on all 43 alignments for travel time. Using the secondary level 1 screening criteria identified, many alignments were not considered further in the second level of screening analysis. In total, 23 of the 43 alignments were identified for consideration in the level 2 screening process. The next few slides show the tables used to document the evaluation of the 43 alignments. The green indicates the best score, yellow, medium, and red, the lowest score. These tables are available on the project website. This table shows the level 1 screening results associated specifically with the Trinity Railway Express family of alignment options and the West Fork Trinity River family of alignments. Both the TRE alignments and the West Fork Trinity River alignments scored low in the first category because of a number of challenges to build a closed system in the corridor. A closed system is grade separated and does not share track with any freight rail operations. We can come back to these tables at the end during question and answer, but we can. I also wanted to point out the main takeaway here is that neither the TRE or West Fork Trinity River alignments passed into the level 2 screening. The level 1 screening results associated with the IH30 family of alignment options are shown in this table. The IH30 alignments would also have some challenges, but to a much lesser degree. The main takeaway here is that the vast majority of the IH30 alignments did pass the level 1 screening and were moved forward into level 2. The level 1 screening results associated with the State Highway 180 family of alignment options and the State Highway 303 family of alignment options are shown in this table. The SH 180 alignments would also have some challenges, but also to a lesser degree. SH 303 alignments would have lesser challenges to build a closed corridor, but was also further away from all of the major activity centers. The takeaway here is that the SH 180 alignments, the vast majority passed and were taken into the level 2 screening, and the SH 303 alignments were eliminated from further consideration. As a point of reference, This map shows all 5 families of initial alignment options, which include all 43 distinct options between downtown Dallas and downtown Fort Worth. As mentioned earlier, 23 of the 43 alignment options passed the level 1 screening. These 23 alignment options are shown on this map. These alignment options are recommended to be further evaluated in level 2 and are generally in this IH30 family and the State Highway 180 family of alignments. Turning to the level 1 screening analysis regarding transportation technologies, as mentioned previously, the conventional rail technology did not pass the level 1 primary screening analysis and was eliminated from further consideration. Level 1 screening analysis results for the higher speed, high speed, maglev, and hyperloop transportation technologies are shown in this table. These 4 technologies were recommended to be further evaluated in level 2. Moving on to the level 2 evaluation process, level 2 centered on determining if the alternative has any fatal flaws, meaning a concern that would prevent further development of the project using that alignment. Various conditions are examined for each alternative, including proximity to environmental sensitive areas, potential community impacts, technology maturity, compatibility with existing infrastructure, and operational characteristics. The level 2 screening results identified both alignment options and transportation technology options to move forward into the more detailed level 3 screening analysis. The results for the IH30 alignments indicated 7 of the 12 alignment options should be analyzed further. Also, 3 of the 11 State Highway 180 alignment options are identified as needing additional analysis as well. Regarding transportation technologies or modes, the level 2 screening suggested the higher speed technology not be analyzed further, while high-speed rail, maglev, and hyperloop technologies should be analyzed further. In addition, the new and emerging technologies initially analyzed were not recommended for consideration in the level 3 screening process. The level 2 screening information is shown in this table for the IH30 alignment options. The 7 alignment options with the most high scores, which are shown there in green, are suggested for further analysis in the level 3 screening effort. The level 2 screening information is shown in this table for the SH180 alignment options. The 3 options with the most high scores, again shown in green, are suggested for further analysis in the level 3 screening effort. As a point of reference, this map shows the 23 options passing level 1 screening that were analyzed in the level 2 screening process. This includes the IH30 and SH180 alignment options. As I mentioned earlier, 10 alignment options passed the level 2 screening analysis and are shown on this map. This includes the 7 IH30 options and the 3 SH180 options. We really need your thoughts to make sure the project team has selected the correct alignments to analyze in this level 3 screening process, which is upcoming. Please visit our project website to submit your thoughts and comments, or feel free to share those thoughts with us here today. The level 2 screening information here is shown for the four transportation technologies that were moved forward from the level 1 screening into the level 2 screening process. The 3 transportation technology options with the highest scores, which are shown in green, are suggested for further analysis in the level 3 screening effort. As a point of reference, this graphic shows the initial transportation technologies identified for study. These include conventional rail, higher speed rail, high-speed rail, maglev, hyperloop, and a number of emerging transportation technologies. As mentioned earlier, 3 transportation technologies or modes passed the level 2 screening analysis. The remaining options recommended include high-speed rail, maglev, and hyperloop modes. Again, need your thoughts to make sure the project team has selected the correct modes to analyze in the level 3 screening process. And with that, I will hand it over to Chris Masters to talk about next evaluation and design steps.
Hello, I'm Chris Masters. I'm the Consultant Deputy Project Manager. And at this point, the Level 1 and Level 2 screening efforts have been completed. The remaining task in the Level 2 screening is to incorporate comments received from the public during the public comment period, which ends on February 22nd. After incorporating all the public comments, the next project effort includes the Level 3 screening process and conceptual design. The Level 3 screening process will focus on a more detailed evaluation of the remaining alignments and transportation technology alternatives, including a conceptual design process for each. The third and final evaluation level criteria includes cost estimates, potential impacts to environmentally sensitive areas, and other potential community impacts, and the ability to construct the proposed project in the future. As with the alignment options and transportation technology options, we need your thoughts to make sure the project team has selected the correct criteria to analyze in the Level 3 screening process. Please visit our project website and submit your thoughts and comments. The Level 3 cost screening criteria are divided into 3 separate cost components. The description of each component is shown on the graphic. Also, potential impacts to environmentally sensitive areas, the criteria is divided into 5 separate components. The components for both criteria categories are scored and aggregated into 1 score for each criteria category. I'll now pause for you to review the criteria and the descriptions. The Level 3 community impacts screening criteria are divided into 4 separate components. The description for each component is shown on this graphic. Also, constructability and system operability criteria are divided into 5 separate components. The components for both of these criteria categories will be scored and aggregated into 1 score for each criteria category. I'll again pause for you to review the criteria and descriptions. In conjunction with the Level 3 screening process, the project team will be conducting an initial design for each alternative that has advanced to the Level 3 screening process. This initial design will be used to support and provide information for the Level 3 screening process. The project team anticipates the initial design process to be completed by the end of March. I'll now hand it over to Rebecca to talk about public and agency engagement.
Thank you, Chris. This is Rebecca Hernandez with the North Central Texas Council of Governments. Throughout the Dallas to Fort Worth High-Speed Transportation Connections study, there are many opportunities for the public and other government agencies to review, comment, and participate. There are various types of public and agency engagement strategies used in this study. These strategies include meetings with elected officials in the region, and so far, 2 elected officials meetings have been held. On a monthly basis, the project team meets with the Federal Transit Administration and the Federal Railroad Administration to discuss the study progress. Engagement initiatives used so far include technical work group meetings, a technology forum, public meetings similar to this public meeting, and a government resource agency meeting. Regarding the technology forum, the project team convened a group of international experts on high-speed transportation modes and technologies to brief them on our project and get a better understanding of the available and emerging technologies. During the first series of public meetings in September 2020, 129 participants were present during meetings. Throughout the month-long comment period, 25 comments were received. These comments generally referred to the type of transportation technology and the alignments the project team is analyzing. A meeting summary and responses to these comments can be viewed on our website as noted here at the bottom of the slide. The project team also offers additional opportunities to learn more about the study. The team is available to provide study information at special events or to groups seeking additional information. Please contact me, Rebecca Hernandez, using my contact information provided here. In addition to contacting the project team for additional project information, we are accepting public comments on the information in this presentation. There are two primary methods to provide comments during this comment period. The comment period is open through February 22nd. Comments received prior to February 22nd will be considered and a response will be provided. Comments received after February 22nd may be considered but will not be considered part of the official project record. Comments may be provided electronically on our project website at nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS. Comments may also be submitted by mail at the address provided here. Additional public meetings will be scheduled in the spring of this year, and for more information or to sign up for project notices, please visit our project website. Contact information for the North Central Texas Council of Government staff are shown here, and I'll pause for you to jot down this information if necessary.
This is Kevin Felt from the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and I want to thank you for your time and interest today. Please provide your comments and opinions through the options provided. And remember that the February 22nd deadline is for us to officially include your comments in the study, and those received after February 22nd may be considered for the study. Your input is welcome and very valuable to the project's success, so please comment and provide us with input as you deem necessary. Thank you.
We will now be opening up the phone line for public comment or questions. For those on the phone, please press 0 to speak. We will request your city and zip code, then you will be placed in queue. You will still be able to hear the meeting while waiting in queue. For those who are listening online, we have opened up our online platform. It was open throughout the meeting, but you do have access to type in public comments or questions. And just as a reminder, if you'd like to gain access online now, visit nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS and follow the link to today's meeting. As a reminder, to participate on the phone, dial 855-756-7520, extension 70384 pound, and press 0 if you wish to speak.
Question from Kate from Fort Worth. What was the travel time used in the level 1 screening?
In level 1 screening, we used a 20-minute travel time threshold, and we compared each alignment and mode combination to that threshold. So anything that was 20 or faster passed, anything that was longer than that didn't pass, anything that not.
We have a question from Michael, also from Fort Worth, Texas. Why didn't you include the estimated design, right-of-way, utility relocation, construction, inspection, and program management costs as part of the alignment screening process?
So those will be considered as part of our level 3 screening. Levels 1 and 2, we're looking at much broader corridors. As we get to level 3, we'll be doing some level of design so that we can more accurately assess those numbers.
A question from Zane in Texas. How has China been able to fund and construct an intricate high-speed rail in a decade or so, while the U.S. lags in such domain?
Thank you for that very interesting comment. And the real reason is that there are more government regulations and processes that we must go through on our end to identify the appropriate alignments and corridors and technologies. On the China side, they tend to do it more expeditiously because they already have their process figured out early on and can do it much more quickly.
A question from Andrew from Fort Worth. Will a recording of this meeting be made available online?
Thank you, Andrew. This is Rebecca. And yes, we do have a pre-recorded version of this meeting online with all the same information that is currently posted in English and will be up in Spanish also this week. We also have both versions of English and Spanish slides available on the website now. So as a reminder, the project website is nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS.
A question from the podium from Robert in the Colony. The Transcontinental Railroad was built in 6 years, almost entirely by hand. Workers drove spikes into mountains, filled the holes with black powder, and blasted through the rock inch by inch. How long do you anticipate it will take to complete the high-speed rail project we are discussing today?
Thank you for that question. There's a lot of factors that go into the time frame for completing the project. Once we finish this project, 2.5 more years from now, environmentally clearing it, decisions have to be made as to how it will be delivered. There's not a delivering entity identified yet, nor a delivery method. So once decisions are made on who will deliver the project, who will govern the delivery of the project, and how it will be delivered, that will set the stage for the time that it takes to deliver the project. Now, if we assume perhaps it's a design build delivery where they begin to design and then construct while designing at the same time, a project of this magnitude, about 30 miles or so, could take 5 to 6 years during the design and construction process, which includes some time for testing. But it really depends upon the technology and the nuances of the design, right-of-way access that really lead to the duration for this project.
Thank you, Chris. We currently do not have any additional comments online or any comments or questions on the phone lines. So just as a reminder, our phone lines are open for public comment or questions, as well as the online option to comment or ask a question. If you are participating on the phone, you can press 0 to speak, and then you'll be placed in queue. You'll still be able to hear the meeting while waiting in the queue. And for those who are listening online, the online platform is open. You have access to type in comments or questions there. And again, the project website where you can gain access is nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS, and then you follow the link to today's meeting. And as a reminder, you can find additional project information and handouts online. We have handouts in both English and Spanish. And those handouts include a frequently asked questions document, a project purpose and need. We have corridor maps, a technology fact sheet, as well as all of the current and past presentations. And all of that is available on that project website. And let's see if we have some additional comments or questions.
We do, Rebecca. William from Addison posed, were existing rail modes considered in the screening process, specifically commuter rail and potential high-speed rail, since access to maintenance and support could be a big factor in profitably implementing new modes of transportation between Dallas and Fort Worth?
Yes, when we began this process, one of the modes that we're considering is conventional rail. That's what you might see today as commuter rail, most often diesel engines or diesel mobile units, similar to what you might see on TexRail or DCTA, or what's being built now by DART on the Silver Line. So those were considered. They were screened out through the screening process so far due to several criteria that we shared in the screening process with you. Maintenance facility locations and cost are some of the factors that will be considered in level 3 as well. But yes, those more conventional modes of rail transportation were considered.
We have a question from Julie from Fort Worth. Of the 3 options, high-speed, maglev, and Hyperloop, which one looks to be the most cost-effective?
So as part of our level 3 screening, we'll be looking into this issue. We're looking at specific costs. We're also looking at potential travel demand. And so we'll be getting into this more as we get into the level 3 screening. So at this point, it's still under evaluation, but we will be getting into that more and be able to provide more information in level 3.
A question from Zane in Plano. Has the team studied China's high-speed rail system?
Thank you, Zane. We investigated quite a bit the Chinese high-speed rail system several years ago, and this was when the Texas Department of Transportation was at the time looking at the same area with a similar type project. Unfortunately, the TxDOT project ran out of funding, and we picked it up and are continuing to move it forward. But yes, we did look at the Chinese, and we've actually tried to reach out to them during this particular project and ask them to participate with us. One of the things that Rebecca mentioned in our public engagement opportunities has been we held a technology forum back in December. And after that technology forum, which was more of a group setting, if you will, a workshop, we then engaged in various discussions with the technology firms themselves to get more detailed information. This is where we reached out to the Chinese, and they have at this point decided that they do not want to participate in our effort at this time.
A question from David in Dallas. Does this project have funding yet?
At this time, it has funding to move us through this particular National Environmental Policy Act effort. However, the next phase, as we mentioned, the phase 2 piece of this, which is more detailed analysis of all of the remaining alignments and core and modes, one of the requirements in that process is to identify a funding plan and a governance plan. And at this time, they have not been identified, but that was one of the things that will be done in the second phase beginning this summer.
From Kevin in Arlington. As an Arlington resident, I am very familiar with the railroads right along the 180 corridor. If the project were to continue along that corridor, how would the existing infrastructure in the area be affected by the high-speed transportation project? Would it replace or perhaps repurpose existing rail?
That is a detail we're looking at right now as we advance the design for the corridors that we showed you earlier on the maps. And as you mentioned, one of those corridors, a few of those options actually run along what everyone is familiar with as the Union Pacific corridor. We actually had 2 coordination meetings with Union Pacific, one earlier this week, in fact, talking with them about access principles and adjacency and such. And as we advance the design, we're doing it as in step with Union Pacific to determine at this early level where are some likely locations the corridor could be located. This is a preliminary advancement of design, just enough for us to screen according to the criteria that we showed during the level 3 screening. Once we select the preferred alternatives to be advanced, whatever that alternative is, we'll work with all the jurisdictions associated with that alternative to advance it in a way that works for those jurisdictions.
I would also just add that for all of these alignments, whether they're the ones remaining on IH30 or along the SH180 adjacent to the UP, setting up coordination meetings with all coordination meeting parties. We've, as Chris mentioned, had meetings with Union Pacific. We'll also have upcoming meetings specifically with TxDOT and FHWA. So we're engaging all parties as we analyze these alignments further.
And to answer Kevin's question a little further, we also are meeting individually with the local governments along the corridor and have already had a meeting with the city of Arlington, who is very supportive of what we've been doing and where we are at this point in the process.
And we don't have any additional comments or questions at this time, but if you are just joining us, the phone line is open for comments or questions. So if you are on the phone, please press 0 to speak. Then you'll be placed in queue. You will still be able to hear everything while you're in queue. And our online platform is also open, so you can type in your comments and questions there. And to gain access online, go to the project website, nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS, and then just click on the link for today's meeting, January 27th. And the comment period is open through February 22nd. If you do have any general questions throughout the next few weeks, you can always email us. Our project email address is hst_dfw@nctcog.org. You can just also go to the website and click on submit a comment or email, ask us a question. You click on those buttons and it will email us. So let us know if you have any comments or questions now, or if you have any before the February 22nd, we're happy to take those. It looks like we do have another comment or question.
We do. Chad from Fort Worth asks, the alignment along I-30 in Tarrant County seems to be the least impactful to residential areas when compared to the 180 corridor. The I-30 alignment would be preferred.
Chad, thank you very much for that comment. That is one of the things we will be investigating as we move into the level 3 screening regarding the impacts to residential and commercial and community resources. We anticipate that analysis to conclude probably at the end of March, first part of April, and we'll have a better answer for you at that time regarding the amount of impact and the amount of need to whichever corridor we select. The other thing to keep in mind is that with I-30, one of the possibilities in that corridor that we will be investigating is, as you may know, the corridor from Arlington toward Dallas has been recently reconstructed and redone. From Arlington toward Fort Worth, that process has not begun with TxDOT. So one of the things we'll be looking at as we move forward through the process is how can we marry those two processes together if in fact I-30 is the one corridor that emerges from this analysis.
We have a few more comments from our online system. Mark from Fort Worth wants to know, has the mayor voiced any concerns about this project?
So I could repeat the question, please.
Has the mayor voiced any concerns about this project, the mayor of Fort Worth?
At this time, Mayor Price has not indicated any concerns to us. In fact, we've had a briefing with their city staff, and also we've had a briefing with the city council committee. So at this time, we do not have any concerns voiced from her. We also would mention that in the past, when we've been actually meeting with the mayor on in a one-on-one basis, she has indicated support for the project in the past.
I have another general comment from Paul, also in Fort Worth. Paul has two concerns about the 180 alignments. First is the impact it would have on the Hanley Historic District, which straddles 180 east of 820. Second is the impact that it would have on the BRT route that Trinity Metro is studying for 180 from downtown Fort Worth to 820.
So those are very valid concerns. As part of our level 3 screening, we will absolutely be looking at cultural resources, including historic resources and neighborhoods. So we'll be analyzing those potential impacts. As a reminder, this project, whether it ends up high-speed rail, Hyperloop, or maglev, would be elevated. So it would be on an elevated guideway. So we will be looking at potential impacts, not just direct impacts, also impacts in terms of visual, noise and vibration. And then in terms of impacts to existing transportation corridors, we'll be analyzing that as well. So those are all part of our level 3 screening, and we'll be taking a deep dive no matter what alignment's chosen.
And to add to that too, once we get into the preliminary design, once the alternative is selected, we'll get into more detail that will let us coordinate with local transit agencies about services they're already provided as details advance. This will be several years until anything would be implemented on this project. Plenty of time to coordinate to make sure that service is provided as needed.
Another from Mark in Fort Worth. I didn't catch if it was tax dollars or private money funding this project. Can you clarify?
Thank you, Mark. At this point, we do not know. As I mentioned, we're in our second phase of the process, which will begin in the summer of this year. We will analyze that. One of the things that will occur is when we reach the federal decision at the end of this process in middle of 2023, we will have identified a funding strategy and a governance implementation strategy. One of the keys to all this is once we obtain federal environmental approval, the project would be ready for a private group to come in and possibly oversee and move forward with the process. There's a lot of options available to us, a pure public option, private sector option, or some combination of the two. So at this point, we do not have a definitive strategy identified, but that will be one of the things that we will identify in the second phase beginning in the summer.
A few more questions. David from Dallas asks, given the existence of TRE line, could this project be considered a redundancy?
Thank you, David. It could be from it actually accesses the same stations on both ends. However, this is a very different type of service that would be much more quick and have much fewer stations or stops along the way. The other key difference in this is that it would eventually tie into a system that would go from Fort Worth and southward, and is also intended to access, if not be an extension of, the service that goes from Dallas to Fort Worth, or from Dallas to Houston, I'm sorry.
Kay from Dallas asks, since one of the objectives is connectivity with other systems like bus and rail, at what point will you begin to have estimates of demand and potential transfer activity that would inform capacity needs of other systems?
Okay, thank you for that question. At this point, we are just reviewing, and for this particular alternatives analysis first phase of the project, we are creating what we would consider more of a demand for the service rather than actual ridership or actually transfers or any of those types of other activities. A lot of that work will be done in the second phase as we get into the National Environmental Policy Act portion of the project that will begin again in the summer of this year. During that process, we will anticipate developing all of the more specific ridership estimates for this particular corridor, as well as what different transfers would occur and exactly what the amount of folks that would be coming to or leaving from this one of the stations on other modes.
A couple more questions. Ryan from North Richland Hills asks, are there other similar projects in the United States that are being used as case studies to determine how ownership and funding could work? Understanding that these haven't been determined yet for this project.
We're working regularly with the FTA and the FRA as our federal stakeholders on this project. And as we began this project, we engaged them to share with us any projects that were similar, any they've done in the past, upcoming, or that were existing today. And so through that process, we have coordinated with them. They've shared some examples. One relevant one that's happening today is a maglev study between DC and Baltimore. And we're constantly getting some information from the FRA and their team members on how that project is progressing as well. So we are reaching out through our federal partners to see what other projects are constantly being considered that might be similar to this in one way or another.
And I would also add that in the United States, other than that magnetic levitation process or project going on between Baltimore and Washington, D.C., all of the other high-speed transportation initiatives have been much longer in distance and not the short 31-mile project that we are investigating.
We have another from Ryan in North Richland Hills. Understanding that profitability isn't necessarily a primary, although important driver in public projects, what is the likelihood of utilizing a grade-separated technology and associated infrastructure costs on the proposed alignments?
I think, first of all, Ryan, thank you for the question. And that is a lot of the work that we're doing in our level 3 screening. A lot of the cost estimates that have been referenced or asked about in this particular meeting today will not be able to be determined until we do a little bit of engineering work within the next few months. And the major cost identification will come in our second phase when we get more into specifics and do a lot more detailed design work and engineering, a lot more on a particular corridor. But that is a good question and will be one of the things that we continue to evaluate throughout the process.
I would also add that as we go through this process, and we've talked with a number of technology firms, the idea of additional revenue streams has come up on multiple occasions. And so looking at, in addition to obviously transporting people at high speeds from Dallas to Fort Worth, also the ability to potentially integrate cargo has been considered and is something, as we talk with some of these private firms, is very much a part of their strategy. So there is an opportunity, depending on the technology selected, to integrate a cargo component, to potentially, again, depending on the infrastructure, integrate solar panels and solar systems to help offset some of the energy consumption. So there, as we talk with the various firms and also work through this process ourselves, we're looking to identify any additional revenue sources from this as well.
And in addition to talking to technology providers, we're also talking with technology operators, those who are already operating high-speed systems throughout the world. And through our conversations with them, we're talking about what makes a system like this attractive, what makes it one that could be operated, as you mentioned, in a profitable way, and have some feedback from them at this preliminary timeframe as well. So not only are we looking at technologies, but we're looking at operations perspectives as well.
Okay, and now we are approaching, it's about 12:54 now, and we're scheduled to go till 1 p.m. So I do want to just remind everyone one last time, if you are just now joining us on the phone, you can press 0 to speak, and you will still be able to hear the meeting when you're in queue, but you will be able to ask a question or state your comment. Again, just press 0 in order to go into the queue. And again, if you're listening online, then the online comment platform is open. So you do have access to type in your comments or questions there. Again, it's nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS. And then you just follow the link to today's meeting, January 27th. So if you are on the phone, feel free to press 0. If you wish to speak, we have about 5 minutes. And as a reminder, we do have a lot of information online for you. There are frequently asked questions that we've put together in an FAQ document that is posted online. And I can go over some of those right now. Some of the topics included in the FAQ document, we have just kind of general topics, questions and answers about traffic relief, technologies, environmental impacts, safety and security, ridership, economy, funding, and then some public involvement questions. But some of these on the FAQ document we have related to previous studies. So I'll ask some in the group here. There's a previous studies, there's a Core Express service project, and then some other studies. Can y'all tell me the difference between these, or how is this study different than previous studies?
Thank you, Rebecca. The Core Express service project that was done by the Texas Department of Transportation in conjunction with the Federal Railroad Administration is very similar to the work that we're doing here. The difference is that we're going to be able to go further in the process because we have additional funding to complete the work that Core Express service project began. The other difference is that we are investigating slight adjustments to the alignments that were done in that particular effort. For instance, some of the alignment options along I-30 require the avoiding the major interchanges that are along the corridor, whereas the Core Express service project didn't quite deviate from the right of way as much as we anticipate it could. The other difference is that the Core Express service project that was done a few years ago did not investigate some of the emerging technologies that have come to light since then and are being investigated in this particular project.
Thank you, Kevin. It looks like we do have one question. This may be our final one.
Sure. Dennis from Prosper, Texas writes, how could the cost of developing a new high-speed corridor between Dallas and Fort Worth possibly be justified with the existing TRE rail when it could be upgraded for much less of an additional investment to operate near the 20-minute travel time level 1 screening criteria?
Thank you, Dennis. I'll let Ian and Chris kind of answer some of this because of the level one screening that eliminated that particular corridor. However, I would say also that the TRE serves a very different market than what we anticipate this high-speed transportation system to serve. The TRE corridor serves the local commuters that want to go from Fort Worth to Dallas and maybe some stops in between. That's why there's 10 different stations along that particular corridor. This particular project is designed more for a much less local access. We anticipate access to be in the two major downtown areas as well as in Arlington. And the speed, which you're correct in that there is a way to do that maybe on the TRE corridor, but I'll let, again, Ian and Chris discuss the reasons why that may not have been one of the corridors that made it through the process.
Well, from my perspective, I would say that I see these much more as complementary services. As Kevin mentioned, really the TRE is more of providing greater access to a much larger number of stations, as opposed to the high-speed transportation project that we're talking about today, which really is much more about time. We will absolutely, though, be analyzing, as Kevin said, as we get into phase two, potential impacts to TRE service, to TRE ridership, as well as ridership throughout. I see it kind of like how we have light rail and streetcar, and light rail is providing that longer corridor, whereas streetcar is providing even greater service within this much smaller corridor. So really, in my opinion, we have the same situation here with light rail and commuter rail versus high-speed transportation.
Okay, thank you. And now it is 1 o'clock, so we will be concluding this meeting. For any other questions or comments, we are accepting those through February 22nd as part of the official record, but we will always accept any comments or questions after that. But please head to our website for any additional information and to contact us, nctcog.org/DFW-HSTCS. Thank you for your time today.